Greetings. Today I'd like to speak to you about the organism or the being that we call our Mother Earth. In many different spiritualities and esoteric traditions and cultural dynamics and philosophies, we find the Earth referred to as the Mother, the great divine goddess. This is an obvious correlation to the word matter or mater, being the Latin word for substance. So the mother and the substance of earth and the formations and creatures that walk upon the earth are seen as the manifestation of the great goddess. The earth mothers and the sky fathers are another way of expressing in ancient traditions the reality of the light from the cosmos being something that illumines the Mother Earth. But if we are to take this in a modern sense, in a world where we have many forces, dynamics in our cultures, in our philosophies, that are trying to train our minds to feel the earth only as something materialistic, that is purely a conglomeration of chemicals that has come about haphazardly, that has no intention or no life within it. How do we in the West and in the world bring a living balance to that kind of philosophy? And I would like to speak now about the earth as an organism. If the earth is to be our habitat, which it is, and it is the place where we are given a certain custodianship over it, and not as in many philosophies of the book where we feel we have to dominate and suppress and plunder the earth and traumatize the living being of the earth, but want to care for it, tend for the garden, be a consciousness that brings about a progressive development, or in some philosophies might be called evolution towards the earth. We can begin to develop an understanding, a current understanding of what it means for the earth to be an organism. This would mean that the earth itself has a biography, a becoming, something that is constantly changing. We cannot think that the earth is a consistent being that is the same as always was before and will always be here. What happens on the earth, like any other organism, affects the earth and changes the direction in which that organism will develop or evolve. Therefore, the events of humanity, and especially Western humanity, have a deep destructive course in this time of the Earth's evolution. And I suppose on a more philosophical level, we need to ask ourselves, what is the effect of human thinking upon the consciousness of the earth? For this really is the spiritual, philosophical question to ask of an organism. What is the evolution of its consciousness? Do the events and the kinds of thinking that take place upon the surface of the earth by its inhabitants, and the kind of thinking especially that human beings hold, give the earth a sense of change in its consciousness? An example of this would be to think about what currently is being called climate change. Yes, there are many indicators that the globe is warming, but we are also aware, scientifically proven, that this is not the first time that we've had a global warming. An ice age has come to an end. But we are aware that if this temperature rise continues, many organisms, and already many have been damaged, will disappear. But is global warming really only about a carbon footprint, or is that only the superficial part of the story? Maybe if we think of it as an organism, and there is an illness within an organism, what happens? The organism begins to defend itself. It gets a fever and starts to try to burn out that which is causing it. And so the effects of an organism such as the earth every so often has to go through a time of coldness, a time of heating itself up, so that a certain amount of repair and health bringing forces can be brought into what happens through the heating up and the temperature, the fever of the organism of the earth. The result in an organism to bring health is to change our ways. We need to take a rest. We need to think differently. We need to begin to act differently for a disease or a fever in our bodies to be cured. It is not just a matter of immunizing ourselves with some form of medicine and thinking all is well. That is one of the great scientific delusions at the moment, to think that immunization will heal and prevent our human organisms from further illness. In the same way, the carbon footprint solution to global warming is an immunization. It doesn't solve the problem. The real problem of the organism is the consciousness of the organism itself has to change. One of the esoteric teachings of organisms in the solar system and in the galaxies, that each planet, each star has a consciousness. It has beings that live upon it, that carry the consciousness and structure the thought forms in different ways upon it. So the sun has certain beings, the moon has certain beings, and the earth's consciousness, the intelligence of the earth, is carried on behalf of the whole organism through the collective consciousness of the human beings. What shines as an earth light from the organism of the earth is formulated through the collective philosophies of humanity. It is no wonder if our collective philosophies are about trying to protect ourselves by traumatizing and killing women and children, by plundering the earth's resources, by overpopulating, that the earth itself feels as a consciousness that it is ill. Yes, the organism of the earth is ill at present. And this organism has gone through a major transformation in its consciousness in the last 500 years. Ever since we have been able to feel the earth as a globe, as a collective organism, we as humanity have started to connect beyond race, creed, religion, politics. With the World Wide Web, we are instantly aware of different things that are happening in the world. We feel and see and perceive through social media all the wonderful, beautiful things of culture, as well as all the trauma that it continues to be perpetrated. We have started to live locally, but think globally. We have started to develop a global consciousness, which means that the earth itself has to evolve from just feeling the universal principles of the stars in any one given locality to being able to carry the consciousness of a unified organism. This organism in itself, we could say, the earth has developed into becoming a self-conscious organism. The earth itself has begun, as Jean Houston would say, has now over the last centuries acquired its own soul. And the task of humanity needs to rise, needs to change with this change of consciousness of the organism of the earth within the cosmos, to going beyond the propagation of species. We need to rise beyond both men and women and children, beyond just perpetrating more human beings. We need to make conscious decisions to rise out of our biology, out of our consciousness of the preservation of our own species, to care and tending out of the true soul of the organism of the earth, our communities, our soul connections between human beings and the creatures of the earth. It is critical for us as human beings to take this step that the earth is not just a rock in the middle of a solar system. It is part of a very subtle organism in itself as the earth, but also within the organism of the solar system. And our consciousness is being challenged at the moment by the traumas, by the difficulties that we see in society and with the ecosystem and the ecosystems starting to collapse around us, that we need to lift our consciousness into the soul and the spirit of the earth as a global spirituality, that what we do locally affects the whole earth. This is a core theme that I bring in my upcoming book to be released early next year, that our spirituality, our local communities need and will begin to integrate through our festivals, through our cultural expressions, through our celebrations and the way we celebrate life and the way we celebrate our major transitions as human beings, will begin to reflect the global spirit of the earth, that we will start to see that our local expressions, our expressions of our spirituality in our communities, in our villages, in our cities, become part of the global spirit. The globe as an organism that has developed beyond just being dependent upon the rhythms of the cosmos, but now itself begins to reflect the consciousness of the intelligence within itself. And so our human consciousness, what we feel and what we hold in our minds and our philosophies and what we do out of those, are now ever more critical for the evolution of the organism of the earth as a radiant star within our solar system and the universe, for that which we as human beings can bring forth from this, our Mother Earth, in the light of the love of the light of the spiritual sun.